Berry has described Amy Blakemore's first collection, her voice, as that of an anti-heroine who isn't shy to show her hand. She writes, the poems seem to speak for a generation bored with its idols, somehow turning disaffected youth's trademark ennui into something altogether more celebratory. Having won the Melita Hume Poetry Prize, her first collection, Humbert Summer, was published by Eyewear Books in 2015. Her second collection, Fondue, will be published by Offord Road Books in July of this year, and it's already gotten great reviews from Andrew Macmillan and Dedalus. So without further ado, I give love to Blakemore.
Evening. It's my first time in Ireland. Anyone from Ireland here? So I think I'm going to do this broadly chronologically. This is called Prelude. I watched a porn in which a woman pushed her lips to the fractal stream of a hosepipe aimed at a car window. The man with the hosepipe was wearing overalls beside a privet line of rose bushes, parti-coloured by the spray. A striped umbrella, a jug of pale lemonade. It seemed so actual, the scene was poignant. And then I wondered where you were. This is a really, really new one. It's called The New Men. I mean, you're going to get a lot of what people might call misandry from me, so just prepare for that. The New Men. Our frustration grew to such a pitch that we chose our new men, raw, from among the whole breadth of creation. One girl flirtatiously drained the water from the hollow skull of a mythical kappa. A second claimed for herself the Nightshade family. At the restaurants or in the cinema on sultry evenings, with favoured leather jackets, children's laughter of true joy, or the way the sun shone in the orchard that day, to be taken home and ridden like a horse. Okay, I'm going to do one. This poem is called Valerie Solanas. Some of you may know who Valerie Solanas was, some of you may not. She shot Andy Warhol in the bottom. Valerie Solanas. Discretion is the better part of not an actress, insult writer for a dime on characteristic, 32 automatic that on that day she wore makeup. Billy says the whole The Sorry Show made Andy unlovable, unlovely as a slice of peanut brittle, spunk snack hang up the walls in hotels, Chelsea, Bristol, Bellevue, these traditional structures of Leonard Cohen songs about fellatio, satin sheets in the bourgeois theatre, like last day's all mnemonic, matic misery. Her mother burned her belongings posthumously. Portrait of the artist as a Gothic precipice. The set motions can be performed while sitting at your desk. The sense of burning injustice cooled to summer wind, a cat's bell heard through front garden. Water snakes illustrated the dangers of radical thought, sucking face by the abandoned packing houses, their gritty ectoderms swarmed all over with words and advertisements for matches and biscuits and canola oil bleeding from the nose. I followed my appetizing paw prints through the snow. Slowly, I assumed a pose I felt was godlike, of intense inferiority to those whose lives I chose to observe, and superiority to those in my immediate surroundings, co-workers. Apart from on hot days with their skimpy cloud, when I would love, boy, I would love everything not nailed down. Perseus. The body taken whole, he pulled into the surf like a dismembered leg. Her breast still lovely, her green sea hawk wings, Ophidian cutlery. He and the head would wake at the same time with the same infection, a drop falling from the slack mouth like the liquid sometimes wept from the center of a flower. Where it fell on his boots, it melted through the leather. Even covered or tied in a sack, it's bad carrying a thing like that. He flew above a burning orchard, kept seeing birds eating other birds. They're quite short, aren't they? God. This is called Christmas. Why? Christmas. I sit by the fern in the station waiting room and later recover my copy of the bell jar from the oak bookcase, from the oak catalogue. She reserves the psychodrama for birthdays, but I came to your little town carrying my guile to the curry place like a spasming doll. But where did I spend the money? Drugs? Acne? Precious little on socializing with other actual human beings, Father says. This is called Leather. I hate doing that. But Tom of Finland was an early kind of gay fetish artist. Lots of huge ballet dancers. Anyway, Leather. Intentions seem so concrete by the estuary. Next to the water, a dark flesh like leather. Taking deep maltworks lotus smell, they shit along the green sward, all shameless white scars of neck, there, like if Tom of Finland had made swans, mauve tails for tongues, primed to cusp of girlhood in ex cathedra feather. It's nice having a lectern. I seldom have a lectern. It may surprise you to hear. Oh, go on, let's do an old one. Okay, so there's a story behind this, which is the launch of Humbert Summer. My whole family were there, like including my sister, who's 8 years younger than me. So she was like 15 at the time or something. And I was quite careful about reading ones that didn't have any swear words in. And then my editor just gets up and he's like, and I want to read one I really like. And he read this one, and there was kind of a dead-eyed silence from the in-laws. 7th floor crow. Who approves of the crow's work, their black disregard for architecture? They are proper, dead-eyed, dangerous, like making the bed and fucking a stranger. What's my last? You see, I very methodically marked the ones I was going to read in here with bits of ripped poem. Okay, yeah. This is called Patterns. And it's a breakup poem, but it's also art. Patterns. 1. Every morning and without screaming in yellow habit, birds wit and champion the guiltless waking, threaded on temperate radar and the drear wing of summer rain. Do you remember the dream of going back to Blue Eyes, beautiful, he's the best fuck in the business. This is why I'm not allowed nice things, and more's the pity that the body of a boy like a country will not commit to memory further than the smell of city, a soft grey t-shirt and well-formed mouth. Of course, these were always the parts that killed and touched you most. 2. By the milk, make the bed, knowing where to find and how best hurt each other. It's what grown-ups do, it's how your parents met. Forget the cemetery and all the red beatitude of the sun cracking the ice in his heart, as if on floating panes of lead. It was joy, but never unalloyed, sending new nudes in tiny games and variations of bloody murder. Just the same, these feelings feed on death, inasmuch as death means the reordering of personality, the correction of what seemed defective anyway. I'll do 3 more. I'll do another fast one because you guys seem to like that. Sorry if I fuck up, I hardly ever read this. Mess up, sorry. Thunder 14. A thunderstorm and all the dogs are barking, a thunderstorm and you come back to me, your glass eyes full, a portion of you for the gods, and I say I think I believe in magic now. Nature likes to remind us sometimes. I will take on my nature or flying rise to meet it, also full like a velvet bag, my belly, a black dress too short, doesn't reach the floor, but still there's drama in it. There you are singing yesterday, I'm pregnant by the thunder god, infected by mythos. Patty, Stevie, St. Marie, don't laugh, never laugh at me. You say you care, you'll say you'll kill him, scared Olympus or his white midwestern skies, and take the moon among your freckles, orange and blue. Blue stars made this, that made you. So loud the thunder, I thought the streets would smash and we'd wake to craters. Criminal mouths agape like the clouds had dropped to the Xerxes, dropped like Leda from the heights of infamy to the rusting dogs and unsanctioned treetops, the way things are in attitudes of mutiny, and thunderbolts on in your ears like crazy horse who vaults the skies, and his fringe of light tears at the signals and radio antenna. Chaos, chaos, rain. So heavy the only time she'd heard it like this before was in a dream where she said she was raped, or on holiday in Hawaii, and the sky and thunder says yes instantly. I'll just do two more now. Samaritans. Falling in love with the boy dragging old bits of wood and broken pallets through the green adolescent limbs of wheat. Liking how he lit fires, must be constantly in the presence of fire, and my readiness to scream when he was around, to test that space within. Later, I was referred to a therapist and walked to the clinic after school, slow and little ashamed of my mannish shoes. I told the boy I loved, a new boy, that contemplating suicide is something all imaginative people do, just as all desire is pathological. You are not your body, but you are, and once it's gone, it's gone. And I never saw the point in talking, when truth is just a sharp thing you stand on in the night, with bare feet, unrepeatable, as a kiss you said was forced, you never wanted. Golan. You tell them not to fuck with you, but they'll fuck with you anyway, maybe even fuck you if they can, to give you a real reason to steep your ear and breath. They used to fashion some apology out of a professed attraction to difficult women. Cleopatra was a cunt for going quietly, carried out by eunuchs to feel the soft rain on her skin. Go down to the river and make a man with your bare, beautiful hands and knowledge of sacred geometry. In soul, make him a mouth and spit in it. Learn the only boy worth trusting is your rabbi. Thank you.
Elaine Cosgrove's debut collection, Transmission, was published by Dedalus in 2016. She grew up in Sligo and has since been adopted by Galway City. Her poetic voice is distinctively Irish. One poem begins, "Stalled in this holy bogland, Knock Airport." The collection has been praised by Dr. Dean Ryder for its razor-sharp perception, its humour, its versatility. This is a long list. Elaine Feeney describes her as always writing with the music muse by her side. She's been published in The Stinging Fly, The Penny Dreadful, and New Binary Press, as well as being selected for Eyewear's 2017 Best New British and Irish Poets. Elaine Feeney has earmarked her as one of the most important rising voices in Irish poetry today. Please welcome Elaine Cosgrove.
Hi, good evening. Thank you to Munster Literature Centre and Cork Spring Poetry Festival for inviting me here this evening. It's a great pleasure. I love Cork. At the Penny Dreadful and New Binary Press, we're two presses and the people behind it to really to give me a bit of recognition early on, and I really still really appreciate it. So thank you. I love Cork. I'm not just saying that as well to sweeten you. I genuinely do love Cork. But I'm just going to grab some water because I had a glass of wine before I came over and she was like giving me already. And thank you, Mary, for the introduction. Thought I'd start with a poem that I just enjoy reading, to be honest. I find it a bit of a settler, and it is called Systole Diastole. Black mood is back and porous, Redford face, a carved cold cave. This night you cannot find any comfort in sleep. Clutter thoughts climb ventricles, systole they contract, diastole they expand. Hunger reverberates, systole composition, diastole slumbers and wakes. Systole rubbish heap in backfield on landfill all over street. Diastole potting landscape daydreams when you cannot find any comfort in sleep. Systole lower into strata, diastole into earthworms, into fungi, into other bodies that reside within. Systole composition, diastole blue-eyed shag that dives a plumage of black clouds into ocean. Comes back still dry, icy catch in beak at light. This night when you cannot find any comfort in sleep, systole composition, my dear, diastole, little niche in soil found. So I took the bus down here. I can't drive, so I have to take buses and trains and walk everywhere, or cycle sometimes. And this is first poem in collection, Transmissions, which is really word. And it's called Motorway. So I spent a good bit of time on the bus from Galway to Dublin when I was studying in college there. And just, sometimes you're on a bus, I don't know if anyone else experienced this, sometimes it's just the light can change so dramatically and the whole bus just becomes this beautiful, luminous being. So this is called Motorway. It starts as a communication, 4 trees and an arc-like bough on a hillside in the sun. Through their branches, a society of brightness, almost pink, pierces the bus, and it fills up a cellar lit alive in a neat second of concrete awe. We pass small towns, big cities, and the immeasurable world, as sure, as changeable, as the scenes that swiftly pass these windows, riding the seemingly direct motorway. And as they hurtle by, an overlay of my face stares back, wanting to disappear. So I grew up in Sligo. Sligo is an interesting place. Someone described it as a mountain town to me recently, which I never even thought of, but I suppose it is because it has Ben Bullen and kind of there in the background at all times when you're in Sligo. And this is a poem called 18, and it's a celebration of 18th birthday party. My sister is here. Can't see her, maybe she ran out. She's at the back, right? But we're twins, so we celebrate the same birthday, and this is called 18. Cocktails, naggins, and joints, our father. Welcome town teenagers thirsty to get wasted on sour grain at a house party in lovely Leitrim. So we live on the border between Sligo and Leitrim. So when you're in the sitting room, you're in Sligo, and when you're the other part, you're in Leitrim. Girl from the estate stops our taxi and seizes the sign at the border between counties. She laughs the whole walk back in the pitch dark of Baltic night with a purse of metal under her arm. A gift of a tall vase from Uncle New York gets broken. New couples kiss, shift hands on a ribbon couch under fairy lights. This is our ballroom of romance in the disused garage. This is our hollowed becoming. Lochgill peers up, tired of lewd tunes from the burdened hi-fi. This is our kingdom of youth, forgive us our trespass. Parkes's castle frowns at us who traipse among darkened bluebells in the forest behind the house. We want to hold and chat to the fairy stones. Let them listen to us, we say, touching their moss. Yeah, those who grow here say, let them hear it. Let them know the shoddy stories caused by spell of their garland lights, our dwelling, joints and gin. So I suppose this week, besides it being Cork International Poetry Festival, was also Valentine's Day. and Pancake Tuesday, and Ash Wednesday. A lot happened this week in Ireland. As it happens, I never actually read this one out before, but it's called Cupid's Text Arrow, and I didn't realise. I was like, it could be a poem for Valentine's Day, and it also has a pancake in it, so there you go. It's one of those like lovely things that happen sometimes when two things come together in the same week and go, I got a poem about that, it's interesting. It's from Galway Times, and well, we don't, it's, I suppose, just, when you're out for a night and you fancy someone and you take a liking to them and you decide to send them a message. So this is called Cupid's Text Arrow. Outside my front door, before I scramble for my keys, I have to get this message sent. I lean slanted against my housemate's car, a sad spade not in use. Using both eyes and thumbs to guide me, I think I like you. Signed, sent, delivered. Characters dart towards the wonder of the semantic. Then my grip loses the phone and it splats inwards everywhere. When I plunge over to teddy pick them, I nosedive. A pancake flipped onto frostbite grass, giggling. I suppose as well, it kind of shows like maybe how much phones have come on. That's from was only about 10 years ago, but yeah, I don't think it says sent or delivered anymore. It's a lot harder to break phones now when you drop them. Maybe the screen smashes, but that was when the back cover would fall off and your battery falls out. Okay. Back to Sligo. I was actually talking to Mary about this. Go down to Clare a lot. I love to go surfing. I'm not very good at it, but I love to go surfing. It's quite hard to get your pop-up very good. They make it look very easy. In Sligo, there's a place called Street Strand. I don't know if anyone's been there. Street Strand was the one of the sites of Spanish Armada in Sligo, anyways. And I used to go surfing there, and I always found it really interesting that you have this place that's being reused again, if you like, by people who go walking there, they go surfing there, they go swimming there. But at one stage, one time, it had been a place of quite carnage and wreckage. And so this is called Surfing at Street Strand. During sea salt of winter surf, remembrance of lineage acts like zinc in the blood that swells from a crevice nick beside my thumbnail. Street Strand pulls out her linen towel, and I become warm dough on the sea floor when their bodies appear blood-strewn bits on grain. 500 wiped-out sailors bet, robbed and stripped ashore by local savages, hungry for wealthy bones and soaked goods, falling like crumbs from their dying. A good savage attending only to castles and mountains to cooler said of O'Rourke, who gave the Spaniards fresh-cut breeds to sleep on, rye bread to eat in the Breffni mountains where they hid. My soft hands roughen to withstand the whip of board, cold knife in December tide, earthing me straight to the skin. So that was in winter time, and it's quite cold in the ocean at winter, but you can wear wetsuits and gloves and so on. That poem was published in Penny Dreadful, actually, issue 3 of Penny Dreadful, so thanks guys. It was funny, a friend of mine is a teacher down in Limerick, and he used that as one of the blind poems, for like mocks and all that. And he sent me back some of the notes from the students, and it was really hilarious. Right? This person is very violent. I was like, oh no. So it was interesting. So back to Galway. This is a poem called Fireman Waiting, and it was published in the Eyewear anthology of British and Irish poets in 2017. And I love walking past the fire station in Galway, the Claddagh Fire Station. It's got beautiful plants on its windowsills. It's lovely. I was looking at my page numbers earlier going, maybe I'll do the lottery with these page numbers and see what happens. But this is called Fireman Wedding. Shutters are up on front of station, engines gleam exposed. Two firemen puck a slither to pass time in the half-time between emergencies. The ball rises, thick-stitched moon over traffic light red. The pure boldness of these responsible men spilling out over the curbs. Their sniggers at a tugged warning from an older one who waters sweet pea plants on the station's windowsills. Careful on that road, lads, as he tilts the typical green can. Autumn's air wraps her hands around us, dice of delicacy under wire, coil, tank, hose. Chill will come and we'll always know this. Hear their attention in the green dip, the go of sirens. So I'm just going to read two more. It's in terms of Galway news. It's Rag Week in Galway this week, or the past week I should say, and the novena is on next week. They had to make a decision that they wouldn't happen at the same time because it was too messy. But I visited Little Rock, Arkansas a few years ago. I have some friends there, and I just had a great conversation with someone there about the novena and about Galway. I'm not religious, to be honest, but just he found it hilarious. I was describing the whole Rag Week scenes in the novena, but this is called Queen. Cold February Galway novena comes around again. Students burst home past the cathedral's line. The rain starts to come down hard, and under white flap, a trailer is a serendipitous sheltering where your brows thin silver, merry embellished, bracelets, medals, and rings. A woman walks, a Titian blue cardigan like nun's habit turned inside out, drenched to her hair. The holy swag seller, a man devoid of chat, has his hands crossed like the reposed. His hands are weathered islanders, waxy tanned with chubby tips. His hands, marked by buried welts from oars and pony strap traps, draw me back to an afternoon in a split house in South Gain Street, Little Rock. Back to questions of repair, of pining, and of the attached. Back to minding a strangeness. Back to the kill heat of an August in Arkansas. Back to the taxi ride from the airport. Back to letting myself in. Back to the want for a shape on things. It was a mutual friend at a wedding due to return. It was new conversation and the surprise of a person when least expected. It was the mention of an important name, his friend deceased who smiles broadly in several wooden frames. His kindness, phosphenes off his tongue. His smile, a stacked skyline among Sacred Heart idols. The dead man's wife got many holy tokens over the years from friends, he explained. I told him about the white trailers that sell bric-a-brac during the novena, little slots filled with beliefs and hopes. Trailers that sell the rest of the year, chips, cans, crisps and burgers at matches, concerts, beaches and sides of roads. I told him about a Virgin Mary ring that left a wee green band around the base of my middle finger when I was young. Copper made green out of oxygen and acids. Green made out of summer sports sweat, washed hands, peas of rose perfumed creams. His drawl spoke towards his hand where a knuckle was bumpy from the use of a beveler's hammer. He told me more about the passing, brain tumour, 29. Could I reach out then and softly rub his hand with mine? The dead heat came in again, so we sat out on the porch for the slant breeze off the fan. Ankles up on the ledge, punch cans like blue and white statues on our laps. The cicadas click in the trees on South Gain Street. The fan's rotation was the sound of thorough river flow. This damned Galway rainwater is a jug knocked over the awning's edge. The trombone of the Longview night breaking the Longview train, breaking the night. at 3 a.m. in Little Rock is now a beeping car where I am at home. Hands work to sand rough edges clean, and as the clouds spill out cold February, a wet for warmth and the seams of love tug and flood, turning everything green. I'm just going to finish with the last poem in the collection called Home. I wrote it after I was at Ledbury Festival in England, and coming home from anywhere, sometimes you arrive in the middle of the night, just the way the flights go, or buses and so on, and so it's called Home from the festival. He is Z beside me, a rise and fall of ribcage. He is too humble, too loyal to be assigned EUS. Nonetheless, he is my God in this scenario. He does not stir to my arrival, which I am a bruised peach about, all acquired ego from the poets. I am home love, ready to graft my way out of the talk shop. I want to jab his side, but my finger in command an odd universe for us. Rise and fall to the woman of your dreaming. Instead, he smells like a brewery, and I fen, a half-naked sliver of tiredness. Touch-screening white light keys of notepad as it extends and shines upon his face and arms, my face too. A flickering tap-tap, hold down, transform, letter, suggest, auto-complete. Flicker, tap, flicker, tap, return, tap, return, tap, return, hold, flicker, lightning, connect, socket, charge. Wake up, scoop up, my body, become my peering point. Thank you so much.
People were gasping. I don't think you'd identify it as a both, but is there a sense in which you're trying to shock people out of something?
I think, firstly, I think, what I'm maybe trying to write isn't explicitly political in the sense that perhaps we would kind of mean political poetry in the vernacular. As far as I'm concerned, all poetry is political to a certain extent, particularly poetry by women, particularly people of colour, kind of has no choice but to be, really, which in some sense can be a burden, but when you're reacting against a canon that is overwhelmingly white and male, that's how your poetry will end up being, and that is how it will end up being interpreted, even if it's just a basic love poem. Sorry. Anyway.
Yeah. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, Virginia Woolf said about women that they shouldn't write out of anger, that's kind of giving in. I don't know. It's a lot to feel that you have to fight out of that, and that your position kind of dictates that you have a role.
I think I've been kind of described, without wanting to be, fairly often as like a feminist poet, which I feel in some ways feminist poet is a slightly, I am a feminist and I am a poet, but I wouldn't necessarily say I write feminist poetry, and that isn't my intention. But I quite enjoy being angry. No, I don't know. I think that something, the sort of maybe delicacy that is expected from female poetry is perhaps, in some sense, is a really nice place to couch anger and violence in a way that people aren't expecting and don't know how to react to. So I suppose that's something I'm going for.
Are you conscious of reacting against the male canon?
Well,
think you can. Well, I think the way things have been set up for so long, I wouldn't say I react against. I try to work within it. I think obviously I believe like women's voices should be on par with men's voices in their recognition. I think perhaps like you talk about in terms of recognition, our forgetfulness about including women's voices. But I never set out to write with that thought in my head, you know, that cut the male canon, like, you know. I just think I read a lot of men's work as well as women's work. But I mean, I think there's a growing recognition of women's voices and also a reclaiming of women who were writing. There wasn't a lack of women writing ever. Like, there was always women and men writing at the same time. It's just somehow the recognition of it wasn't there in terms of structures around. So I suppose like, so I think at the moment there's quite a strong like reclamation of women in history, and also perhaps a greater awareness around, you know, ensuring that there is some sort of gender balance in a lot of what you do, which is fantastic. But I mean, I think like I don't personally set out to go against the male canon, but I suppose I just happen to be a woman. I mean, so maybe if I'm perceived that way, I couldn't care less.
You were saying that you recently done a web tech course.
Yeah. That was such a pain in the ass, but great. It was a higher diploma in web technology. I don't know why I do this to myself, because like I have a full-time job, and I was like, I don't mind learning more about web technology. So I did a part-time course in Dublin and travelled from Galway to Dublin 3 times a week, which was pretty tough going, but a lot of people do it. And but I have like an interest in developing a more like, we were talking about this earlier, digital poetics. I find it fascinating. Simply it was more of a case of I don't have the skills at the moment to create my own work as someone who writes poetry but can also write it in terms of I want to be able to code myself, you know, rather than asking someone else to code for me or do anything like that. So maybe it's a bit of stubbornness in that part, but it's something I want to explore more. And I think it's kind of wild. Like, Ireland really hasn't started that too greatly. There is definitely people working in Ireland in that field, but like places like America, Latin America, Europe, mainland Europe, it's way more developed. So I think,
Digital poetics.
Yeah. But there's a handful of people in Ireland who are practitioners of digital poetics, but I think it's a growing area of poetry. I think it's good to widen out, you know. Work with technology.
Do you have any questions?
Digital poetics, is that like poetry videos where it's like?
Yeah, so again, like I'm not an expert at all in it, and it's James there. James would explain it really well. Yeah. But I suppose using digital technology, I mean, James, please wrong. But it's using digital technology with, I suppose, the tradition of poetry, like, and also it's seen writing, you know, like writing in the sense of like how poetry can fit in with what we have around us already in terms of digital technology, and kind of grow forward, and I suppose the practice of poetry and how you display poetry, how you interact with poetry, how you spread poetry. I suppose, is that?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I guess I was just curious, I mean, for Amy, but also for Elaine, like, because, you know, like you wrote one book a few years ago or several years ago, and then now you're about to come out with a new book, or like for, you know, like we all practice over a period of time. Like, do you feel like there's much difference between your newer work and your earlier work, say, and if so, how, or maybe not?
For me, I suppose I started writing when I was like 15, 16, and was kind of, I suppose, lucky in that sense to find something that kind of, as soon as I started doing it, I couldn't imagine not doing it so early on. And also lucky to have a book published so early. Like, it was just pure luck. Like, I know a lot of people a hell of a lot better than me who haven't yet. And I think in terms of my second book's coming out in the summer, Fondue, it's almost interesting the way you kind of feel yourself being digested by kind of the system or sort of the structure that books and your career is meant to function around as soon as that happens. So like after the first book, which was kind of in some ways a collection that had coherent themes, basically by luck because I have a one-track mind. After that, like I was very much writing. After I'd had one book out, I was which was just random poems. I was writing with a second book in mind, having been through the editorial process for the first book. And I can't help but think maybe that was kind of bad. That sort of, you know, when I was writing, I was thinking, oh, how will this settle into my second collection? Weird, yeah. So I would say that I felt the idea of kind of where I was in my career kind of affecting how I was writing in a way, yeah.
Yes, I'd say definitely. I was thinking about this the other day because I'm starting to work on second collection as well. I think just what you find interesting or that you're obsessed with, I suppose, at the moment is always going to be change in what you're writing about. But I think again because I started writing when I was like a teenager. I mean, you naturally, as you get older, and sometimes you kind of step forward and you step back in terms of, say, self-consciousness or kind of confidence and so on. I don't think it's a linear thing. You step forward, you step back, and so on. And at the moment, I would definitely feel I'm more interested in not writing about me at all. And I know it's people say, well, all writing is about yourself, essentially. I don't know. I'm going to try and not do that. So I'd say, that's probably a change in my own landscape of my own writing self, if you like. But that's not to say, though, you know, firm believer in change. And I'll just change my mind and flip-flop back to old territory, if you like. And that's okay. I mean, I think I was thinking about this the other day. I think a lot of writers have their kind of palette, if you like. Their kind of primary colours that they go back to quite a lot. It could be subject matter or certain images or even smells or anything. So for me, I can definitely already see forming a palette, if you like, that I know I'll probably keep going back to over a long time just because I'm a bit obsessed with it. But yeah, so we'll see.
Yes. For both, what's the best part or the most satisfying part of writing a poem? From, say, idea to print, what's the best or most satisfying part?
Getting it printed. I think there's how do you describe it? It's almost like a click, you know, when you're happy with something, or you might have redrafted a good few times, and it's just like a little click. You go, yes, that's it. That's the right word, or that's the slant I wanted. And for me, that's really satisfying. And then and then everyone knows this. And then you send it out and it gets rejected and you go, what? I know I was pretty happy with that, but it's fine. So someone else didn't click with it and you're like, okay. But I think personally, that's really satisfying in yourself when you find that click in whatever you're doing. And you go, no, I'm really happy with that. I like that. That's, you know, for me, that's what I wanted, you know. And, you know, sometimes it just never happens with something you're working on. But yeah, for me that's the most satisfying. Yeah.
I suppose maybe it's kind of the way I write. I often get kind of individual lines or individual images before I get necessarily a place to position within or an idea of what they're maybe working towards. Just like, oh, that's a bit like that. Write that down. I suppose. Very often, maybe I won't write for a whole week, and I'll just be gathering these kind of pairs of images, or that seems like a nice line. This observation I had from the window of the bus, T.S. Eliot, whatever. And maybe only, I also work full time, maybe only like once or twice a week will I have a chance to actually sit down on my own and actually maybe have a few hours where I can properly write. And for me, the most satisfying thing is when I write all these things down and then maybe I go back to my notes from the week before that kind of went nowhere, and maybe I find a way I can sort of slot them all together, and it's like, hang on, that was kind of, these are kind of sort of connected. So I guess basically the same thing. But in the way you write, which for me is finding a place where maybe a specific image and a specific idea, or maybe just actually realizing that image. I mean, a lot of mine are very short, particularly the stuff I'm doing now, maybe no more than 4 or 6 lines. Maybe just realizing that idea is enough on its own, or if you connect it with anything else, it's actually weakening the idea. Is also a fairly nice thing to realise. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Oh, Ambit. Yeah.
What would you say your ambition, both of you, what would you say your ambition is for your second collection, or your third if you've already partway through second? You know, like, how do you vision that, you know, your biggest dream for the next great collection?
To finish it. Yeah, so it's pretty early stages yet. So I suppose, I think, you know, I've been talking to other people about this, and I'm somewhat new to this as well, you know. I mean, I try not to be too hard on myself, you know. I suppose if I finish it, I'd be delighted. But I have an idea of a theme that I want to explore in it. Kind of hesitant to say what it is yet, not because I'm like, ooh, it's such a great idea. It's more so like things can change, and like, you know, you discover 10, 20 poems in that, oh, no, wait a minute, this isn't the theme at all, it's this, you know. But yeah, no, I think like I'm pretty happy, and stuff I would have, like, that wasn't put into this one, that I'm like, oh, actually together they're the starting point for another one. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about it. It's like that lovely phase at the moment. I'm really excited about it, and I just have to write. Go through notebooks and gather everything and find that time and place. But yeah, so I suppose for me, like if I could finish the second collection, I'd be really happy. Yeah.
I mean, the most gratifying thing is when, like, the right person, like the person you wanted to read it and like it, reads it and like it, reads it and likes it. So I suppose that would, I don't know, I find, it's a weird thing to say at a poetry festival, but I find the broader establishment, I suppose, kind of vaguely suspect. Yeah, it would be, for the right people, broadly speaking, writers who I love and who have inspired me to somehow find it, and also people who were, I had it with my last collection somewhat, like just teenage girls who have a subscription to Persian magazine, being like, I read a couple of your poems, and just like finding my personal email and sending me their poems, and I like that. So it would be more of that, like, these are the people I want to be writing more. If anything that I do can encourage those people to write more, then that would be what I want.